Should be good. Alright, what's up, guys? Welcome back to MCubed. It's Schmook here as always, and of course, we're here to talk about HBO's new hit TV show, The Last of Us. So, as you can tell from the past two episodes, I am quite into this show. Like, quite a bit. It's based on one of my favorite video games of all time. Actually, my absolute favorite video game of all time, and so far, I'm not terribly disappointed. I thought episodes 1 and 2 were I thought better than this episode, but I thought this was still a very good episode. I don't think it's what everyone's making out to be. I mean, it's amazing. It's a very good love story. And it's kind of interesting to see what it would be like just two people being together inside the apocalypse and knowing very little people, right? Anyway, this episode did a lot of things that is different in my humble opinion. Because again, the video game is one of my favorite video games, and it still ends at a point where it sends Joel and Ellie on the rest of their journey, where it's all going to get completely bonkers, right? Like, you guys aren't ready for I think the next two episodes are going to be pretty big, and then I'm going to be like, after that, it just gets bigger and bigger. But this one just felt like a very subplot episode where we don't get much of Ellie and Joel. But I was a huge fan of what we got from them in this episode, where you have some scenes that are very straight from the video game. Like, towards the end, he's like, rule number one, we keep our past lives to ourselves, and blah blah, don't show anyone this bite. It's like almost direct dialogue from the video game, which is cool. I also very much so enjoyed the beginning with fantastic shots. You start to get to understand how Ellie and Joel's relationship's gonna blossom, because he tends to, he's got to take care of her, right? But I liked one specific scene when they're just looking at this pasture and you see this crashed airplane, right? And Joel's just talking about, like, oh yeah, that's an airplane. She's like, yeah, man, that's sick. And he's like, it was okay. It was kind of a pain in the ass to get on the flights and whatnot. And Ellie's just like, dude, like, you got to go up in the sky. So it make, like, her being born, let's see, 6 years after the fall. So she knows absolutely nothing about how this world used to, like, be ran and how it operated. So everything to her just seems alien if she hears about it, right? Where this is her reality. Regardless, it's just cool. You see her face light up. It's like, dude, you got to go up in the sky. So I mean, it's fun to see that stuff. You see it towards the end of the episode as well. And I'm just mainly gonna go over the Joel and Ellie stuff to start off. Then we'll get into obviously what the whole episode was about. But so towards the end, I'll save this part for the absolute end. When I'm done with discussing this episode. Like the letter from Bill to Joel, but we haven't really talked about Bill yet. So, and I'll talk about, Bill and Frank and how they relate to their Joel and Ellie in the video game compared to this. But with the end of this episode, again, I just like talking about the Joel and Ellie relationship, and that's what I'm highlighting right now for those joining us. But at the end of the episode, it's like how Bill leaves a key for Joel in the car, and I like seeing Ellie get in this car, and like she's just like on cloud nine. She's like, "Oh, this is a rocket ship," and I'm like, "It's just getting in a car, Ellie. Just getting in a car." But yeah, it's really cool. I appreciate the Joel's just like seatbelt, and Ellie just looks at him like, "What?" Like, she has no idea what a seatbelt is, right? Because she's never been in a car before. But like, you see that dad instinct come out of Joel, where he's just like, he reaches over and takes the seatbelt and locks her in. So I think that's awesome. Again, that's what I really loved from the Joel and Ellie stuff from the episode. Also, her talking about playing this video game with a friend. It was Mortal Kombat, which is cool. So she was just like describing a character from the games, which is cool, because in the video game there's a very similar scene to that also, but it's only it's a different video game. Like, they don't have like licensing to Mortal Kombat, but since it's on HBO, I think they were able to make it work, so it's cool. Excuse me. So now we get to the most intriguing part of this episode, which is like the beef of this story, which is Bill and Frank, right? I like how the introduction to Bill is like he's obviously been a doomsday prepper. Like he has a tank full of gas, he has shotguns, he has all his food, he has all this stuff, right? And he just knew from the get go that shit was going down, which is kind of it's fun to see because you know there's going to be people like that if something like this was to ever happen. I have a friend or two who are like that. Um, but again, it's just very, very intriguing to see this guy who's just ready for the apocalypse. Skip ahead from the whole collapse. Bill just runs this whole town. It's Bill's town, which is from the video game as well. But again, we're gonna get into slight differences. I'm gonna describe. You guys, if you watch the episode, you watch the episode. But the Bill and Frank storyline is something that wasn't in the video game. I mean, it was, but not like this whatsoever. All you know is when you meet Bill in the video game, it's just some like hermit guy who knows Joel, who owes Joel a favor. And again, Ellie and Joel go to his town to try to find a car battery. Bill helps them, and they find out that Frank had stole this car battery from Bill. And you find out that Bill obviously or Frank got bit or something, so he hung himself. Then you see a letter from Frank being like, "Dude, I hate it every day, or I just didn't want to spend one more day with you," which I think is interesting because in this, when we get towards the end of the episode, he's just like, "Give me one last good day." But again, I need to talk about their relationship, of course, but in the video game, it's just drastically different. Like you barely even you don't even really see Frank. You only see Bill. And in this, like Ellie doesn't even meet Frank or Bill. So but at least in the game, she gets to know who Bill is. So I like that. I think it's different. I don't necessarily love the change, but I think it made for a good story within this apocalyptic world to see like a true love be formed. But yeah. Again, we meet Frank. After he falls into one of Bill's traps, because that's a good thing from the video game that they brought in, that Bill's really smart with this kind of stuff, right? He makes a bunch of like trip mine traps and hole traps, stuff like that, right? But you meet Frank, and then Bill's like, "All right, come on in, I'll give you some food," and Bill's just like, "Don't tell everyone, like this isn't a buffet." But Bill makes Frank like a very good meal, and they start to hit it off, and it's like you can tell this is where they haven't seen anyone in ages, right? Excuse me. Ooh. Anyway, so you haven't seen them or they haven't seen anyone in years. So you start to see like, oh man, are we like the last ones out there, the last of us, and they form a real romantic relationship. And it's cool. You see their ups and downs throughout the whole way. Then they eventually meet Tess and Joel, where I really like that scene, where even though they seduced each other, like making you think they're both gay, which they are, but then there's the scene between Tess and Joel where it's just like you can kind of tell Frank's kind of spitting a little game, in my opinion, with Tess being like one of the first women he's seen in a while, but she's obviously taken by Joel, and Joel's just like talking to Bill's like, "Don't worry about it." Joel's just so confident. He's like, he knows he has the masterful game where he's like, Tess isn't gonna leave him. But I like to sing this because it's like, man, Tess and Joel were together for years, like honestly longer than his daughter was alive in this world. So that's intriguing to me. So it's wild seeing Joel not take it as hard. But I think at this point he's like, I already lost the most important thing in my life. The Tess thing hurts. I already lost the love of my life, which was his daughter. Anyway, we find out a little bit later into episode that Frank has cancer, and he knows like he hates suffering. He just wants to have one last good day with Bill. So they go out. They have a great day together. They have a nice dinner. They get married. So it's all that stuff. And then the highlight, what made their relationship pretty I thought pretty powerful was like there's just the one scene with the strawberries, right? where like they're growing some fruit and they both taste like when they get that first bite of a strawberry, they're like, they're so happy to be with each other to experience this moment like for the first time in forever. Like how they were able to form a romantic thing, which they probably thought that would never happen for them again. But just the idea to taste that strawberry is just like, imagine not being able to have a strawberry for like 13 plus years and you've been eating like crap for years and you just have that one bite. It's like, this is the sweetest thing I've ever had in my life. So I think it's intriguing. Sorry guys, I'm a little sleepy. Anyway, of course we get to, the last dinner scene, which I think is a very powerful scene I was not expecting. Because again, when I see how old Bill looked at this point, even though they still could have made it pass off that Frank just dies from cancer and still would have hit, where you can still have Ellie meet Bill. But I think in the game, Bill is way more like, he's kind of like a psycho. He talks to himself all the time. It's only him most of the time, except for when he was with Frank. But obviously Frank couldn't put up with it anymore in the show or in the game. But in the show, to Bill, Frank's the love of his life, and Bill reciprocated, right? So he makes this final dinner, and like they both know that Bill's gonna be poisoning Frank because he wants to go out with just having the best day of his life, gets to fall asleep and die in Bill's arms. And now the big flip flop on that was that Bill takes the drink of the wine too because he filled both bottles with all these pills. So that hit him, or so they're both dying. They're going out together. I'm like, then there's the line where it's like, Frank, I'm content, man. Like, when you're gone, I don't really care to be here anymore. Like, so it was a beautiful scene. I just kind of felt it kind of interesting. Like they felt like they felt right, felt right, like to the point of they're just two guys surviving the world who happen to fall in love with each other. Because if you don't have that much human contact, like, what else are you gonna love? Because you're your biggest critic always. It's always gonna be nice to have that one person with you. I could see this happening to anyone, even if you're gay or not. Which I think they kind of hit that point of a little bit. Whereas I don't think either of them were homosexual before the apocalypse. I mean, I don't know. That's kind of the vibes I got from like when they first hooked up. Where they're just like, wow, all right, we're feeling it this way. But again, so Bill and Frank, they go out together, which I thought was pretty wild. Because again, the video game is just massively different. But it managed to make some good, deep storytelling, and it's still able to progress Joel and Ellie's storyline. Because, one, there's the letter, right? Or Ellie's just reading this letter from Bill saying, like, don't go upstairs to the room. It's going to be a sight you don't want to see. And then Bill's like, just saving him meant everything. Like, it meant the world. And he says, save Tess or take care of Tess or something along those lines. That's where, Joel, he's broken up about it a little bit. So I was happy to see him actually show some emotion for losing this person. He's probably been in a relationship for like 16 years, like, which is crazy. Because he has to storm outside, but just save that life, and then looking at Ellie and where I know the story's going to go, like, this is what builds towards their relationship they're gonna start forming when it's just them two alone. And I think it's a beautiful thing. And again, I like Bill leaves a car for Joel. Again, it's all different from the game, but I still felt it hammered a lot of good things, especially good themes of like that one person, like, that's worth living and dying for. So yeah, I think that's really it, guys. I enjoyed the episode overall. I do think it's my least favorite episode. It was great from a story standpoint, but I don't think it was necessarily the best from a Last of Us in general standpoint, where it it progresses the story of Joel and Ellie. But again, I just wanted to see way more of them because I think they're the best characters. But again, it's gonna be them the rest of the way until it's an Ellie and I'm trying to remember her name. I think it's Sarah. I believe Sarah's her friend's name. I'm trying to remember, or no, Riley. I think Riley's her name. It's gonna be that episode's gonna be pretty similar to what this one was, but I think that one's gonna hit. All right, sorry about that, Harris. I just got your text. Thanks for letting me know. I'll change that once the video's done for sure. But again, ultimately, I thought it was a great episode. I think this is already turning out to be one of the top TV shows we'll be seeing, especially in recent years. Like House of the Dragon is the only one I can think of that's like on the same par in terms of quality. But yeah, guys, hope you enjoyed. I look forward to episode 4 more than almost anyone else. The next episode is gonna be pretty incredible. We're gonna be dealing with Raiders. I'm already gonna call it now. I think the episode's gonna be Alone and Forsaken, which is based on a Hank Williams song, as well as in the game when you're about to get into this point in the show, they're listening to the song on the radio when all hell breaks loose, and then they're officially alone out there. And then towards the end of the episode, you'll meet some new characters that I really enjoy. I think they're going to have a powerful storyline. That's Sam and Henry. I look forward to meeting them and to see their story unfold in live action. All right, guys, that's going to do it. I hope you enjoyed. Leave a thumbs up, like and subscribe, and share with your friends. I'm Schmook. I'll see you later.